Data Acquisition Series Part 1. In this series of lectures, at first data acquisition and different types of it will be explained. Then you will learn about digital evidence storage formats and how to determine the best acquisition method. Next, you will learn about contingency planning for data acquisitions and using acquisition tools. These lectures also explain how to validate data acquisitions. In addition, you will study various RAID acquisition methods. Also, you will learn how to use remote network acquisition tools, and at last, some of forensic tools available for data acquisitions will be listed. What is data acquisition? Data acquisition for digital forensic is simply collecting digital evidence from electronic media. So it is nothing except process of copying data. There are two types of data acquisition. A static acquisition, that is about acquiring non-volatile data like data in a hard disk, and live acquisition, that is about acquiring volatile data like data in a RAM. In this part, we focus on the static acquisition. Now, we want to understand storage formats for digital evidence. Following are three storage formats for digital evidence: raw format, proprietary formats, and advanced forensic formats. What is raw? As you know, the basic meaning of word raw is something that is not processed or refined, and it is in a natural condition. For example, in these two pictures, the left picture is a raw picture and the JPEG picture is something that is processed. Now let's see what is raw format. In the past, there was only one practical way of copying data for the purpose of evidence preservation and examination. Examiners perform a bit-by-bit copy from one disk to another disk, the same size or larger. As a practical way to preserve digital evidence, vendors and some operating system utilities such as Linux DD command made it possible to write bitstream data to files. This copy technique creates simple sequential flat files of a suspect drive. The output of these flat files is referred to as a raw format. This format has unique advantages and disadvantages to consider when selecting an acquisition format. The advantages of the raw format are fast data transfers and the capability to ignore minor data read errors on the source drive. In addition, most forensic tools can read the raw formats, making it a universal acquisition format for most tools. One disadvantage of the raw format is that it requires as much storage space as the original disk or dataset. Another disadvantage is that some raw format tools, typically freeware versions, might not collect marginal or bad sectors on the source drive, meaning they have a low threshold of retry rates on which media spots on a drive. Many commercial tools have a much higher threshold of retry rates to ensure that all data is collected. Several commercial acquisition tools can produce raw format acquisitions and typically perform a validation check by using cyclic redundancy check or CRC32, message digest 5 or MD5, and secure hash algorithm or SHA-1 or later hashing functions. These validation checks, however, usually create a separate file containing the hash value. Proprietary formats. Most commercial forensic tools have their own formats. Proprietary formats typically offer several features, such as the following: the option to compress or not compress image files of a suspect drive, thus saving space on the target drive. The capability to split an image into smaller segmented files for archiving purposes, such as to CD or DVD, and also data integrity checks integrated into each segment. The capability to integrate metadata into the image file, such as date and time of the acquisition, hash value for self-authentication of the original disk or medium, investigator or examiner name, and comments or case details. One major disadvantage of proprietary format acquisition is the inability to share an image between different vendors' computer forensic analysis tools. For example, the iLook-iX imaging tool has 3 proprietary formats, include IDIF, IRBF, and IEIF that can be read only by iLook-iX, not other forensic tools. Another problem with proprietary and raw formats is a file size limitation for each segmented volume. Typically, proprietary format tools produce a segmented file of 650 MB. The file size can be adjusted up or down with a maximum file size per segment of no more than 2 GB. Most proprietary format tools go up to only 2 GB because many examiners use target drives formatted as FAT, which has a file size limit of 2 GB. Of all the proprietary formats for image acquisitions, the expert witness compression format is currently the unofficial standard. This format, the default for guidance software in case, produces both compressed and uncompressed image files. These files or volumes write an extension starting with .e01 and increment it for each additional segmented image volume. Several forensics analysis tools can generate generic versions of the expert witness compression format and analyze it, including X-Base Forensics, Access Data Forensic Toolkit or FTK, Belkasoft, and SMART. Advanced Forensics Format. Dr. Simpson's Garfinkel developed an open-source acquisition format called Advanced Forensic Format, or AFF. This format has the following design goals: capable of producing compressed and uncompressed image files, no size restriction for disk-to-image files, a space in the image file or segmented files for metadata, simple design with extensibility, open source for multiple computing platforms and OS operating systems, internal consistency checks for self-authentication. File extensions include .afd for segmented image files and AFM or .afm for AFF metadata. Because AFF is open source, digital forensics vendors have no implementation restrictions on this format. Now the part 1 is completed. In next part, we will talk about determining the best acquisition method. Thank you for listening and watching.